What is up, DC fans? Simon here. Welcome to HannaTalk. Hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic. Today I'm here with a very special guest. Now, she is an actress who is best known to fans from having played across both the Marvel and DC universe, from the Invisible Iron Man as Lei Mi to Young Justice as Lady Shiva. But she has also worked on shows such as Zatch Bell, Star Wars The Clone Wars, Stitch, Ben 10 Omniverse, the game series Uncharted, and much, much more. Please welcome Gwendoline Yeo.
Hi, all the way to us, all the Aussies out there and all your other fans. What a pleasure to connect with you, Simon. And yeah, hi.
Hello, 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 and it's an absolute pleasure to connect with you as well, Gwendolyn. How are you?
I'm all right. We were just chatting about, everyone's sort of gripped in this pandemic, so everyone's kind of dealing with it in different ways. So I was reading something that some Canadian friend, a Canadian Twitter post put out that said, be kind to yourself and don't compare yourself in terms of how you're coping with this, and don't judge others with how they're coping with this.
Hmm.
So it's like we're not working from home. We're in a crisis trying to get work done from home. So there are all these sort of things that I think are important to give us peace and lessen our anxiety. But I've been very lucky to be able to do um, voice sessions for my home studio and just have that infrastructure. So that's been important. But I won't lie, it has been pretty isolating. And I've been loving on my dog a lot more than usual. So
Fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. Now, before we
yeah,
get started into talking about the your origins as an actress and your career,
yeah.
now we've got a message here from now we've got a special message here that was posted to me on Facebook from Jonathan Wells, who says, "Oh wow, I know Gwendolyn. Tell her that her dancer Aussie friend says hi."
Oh, John. Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. Wow. He's been a fan for years now. What a sweetheart. He. I feel like almost like I've grown up with my fans. And I remember for my birthday, he did this really cool break dance to one of my favorite songs for my birthday and sent it over. So give a shout back. Hey, John Wells, what's going on?
That's
So
fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Shout out to you, Jonathan, for an awesome message, mate. And to all the fans out there,
thanks.
and to
Yeah.
all the fans out there that'll be listening to this, please be sure to leave any fan questions, any messages for any guests that I announce that I'll be having on Hannah Talk later this week. And I'll be sure to give a special shout out to anybody who gives out a special message and question, because that is fantastic. That is
Yeah.
absolutely awesome. Now,
Yeah, and I feel free, for your fans if they want to if you want to plug all my social media. But honestly, just it's at Gwendoline Yeo, and it's spelled totally weird. But on IG, it's at Gwendoline Yeo fan page, and people laugh at me because it says fan page, but I can't change it because now I'm verified. But on Twitter, on Facebook, whether it's through Simon or through me, like if you guys feel you want to reach out in any way, or if you're feeling kind of bummed out, or if you want to ask me a question, like feel free. I try my best to really to respond to everybody as much as I can.
that is fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. And I'll be sure to put those links in the description once the interview is finally up. That would be
Yeah,
fantastic. Now, let's get started with the beginning, with your beginnings here. How did you get started in acting?
it's actually kind of interesting. I it's funny. I was doing like a speaking tour through. I had a clothing line, and I wanted the proceeds to go to the poorest high school in America, which was in Appalachia. And I was afraid because of my race, because I'm originally born and raised in Singapore until I was 11. So when I first came here, I used to talk like this, kind of like Jar Jar Binks or something. And I didn't know how they would. I didn't know, racially or how they would approach, to be very honest with you. But I didn't feel that at all. I feel like, Gen X, millennials, Gen Y, Z, and beyond, like everybody has been, I feel like colorless. And for me, I think it's more about connection, about being able to escape and to put your pain somewhere. So I didn't have the easiest childhood. And when I moved here, I thought like this, and so I felt like I sounded so dumb. So I said something like this, like try to adjust, kind of like in Crazy Rich Asians, like it's a more formalized, British-sized thing. And then I got teased because people in my high school were like, what is your accent? But I didn't know what my accent was because I just moved to America. So I started talking like a valley girl because I thought that was the way I was supposed to do it. And it's so interesting because sometimes your biggest hurts will be your biggest, will become your career. So, I think having to adjust with bullying, it made me much more facile with my tongue and be able to adapt vocally. And also as an actor to just adapt as an artist. So, I was telling some of the kids in one particular high school, but, that, who've had it rough and, just sort of coming from abusive families or alcoholism or a lot of blue collar folks. And I was like, look, if you're a class clown, you could be the next Chappelle. If you're, like me, you come in and you're this ugly duckling with and I feel like a total weirdo, weird accents, you can make a voice career out of it. So that's actually how I started. I was discovered by an on-camera agent for commercials, and they also had a voiceover department. And at the time, I went to the Conservatory of Music in San Francisco. I've always played the piano, and I also played the Chinese long zither that I actually brought to the conservatory. And long story short, the voice agents came to the show. God, this is so long ago, and I had like a jazz band. It was called the Gwendoline Yeo Trio, like a jazz band. And they signed me on the spot. And they said, we're just going to stay for a couple of songs. They stayed for the whole 2-hour show. And I booked like the first 4 jobs, like Lady Deathstrike and Wolverine, and it just kept going, just kept going. And I booked the Wolverine and X-Men series, and played Lady Deathstrike and blah blah blah. So it just all kind of came together, from on camera to voiceover. But I really attribute, really my first push, like my first start was really in the voiceover world, and it just opened up from there.
That is fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. And who would you consider to be like your acting influences?
Ooh, acting influences. Well, when I first started, I thought I was pretty funny. I think I'm still pretty funny, but a lot of this, I used to do more comedy when I first started, like Lucille Ball, in Black and White. That's, I could see that in Singapore, just being silly and goofy, and, Betty White, Carol Burnett, but in terms of like the more drama side, like Laura Linney, Meryl Streep, and also comedians like Chappelle and Louis Black, I feel like a lot of these, I would think those. I hope I'm not missing anyone, but yeah, in the on-camera acting space, of course, I have colleagues that I really admire and work with, that I go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm working with them. So, but yeah, I think coming to America, it was more like watching Cheers, on television, watching Punky Brewster, watching, Family Ties, these kind of like old school shows, and Nickelodeon and Disney, and just coming up with that, I think sort of influenced me,
Fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. Now, you've mentioned about, of course, so like having worked across from both live action and the voiceover world. Have you ever turned down a role for any particular reason?
I have. How old is your audience, by the way?
There's not really. It's open to really anybody, really. So just feel free to talk.
Okay. So I was offered an opportunity to audition for a particular show that was very well known, to play like a Chinese prostitute, where I would have to give a happy ending to one of the men, and I just thought that it was really offensive. I thought, this is not a stereotype I want to perpetuate. This is not who I am, and I moved right along. I mean, unfortunately, there are people lining up just to take that job, but for me, Whether or not anyone saw that integrity, I don't know. But for myself, I felt like I found that integrity. And sometimes those decisions are really hard in this business. You know,
Mm.
there was a different show where I was promised a certain rate, and for some reason there was some awkward. They tried to get around it, and I just, and the producer said, "Don't you want to be on TV? Don't you want?" And it was just so. My gut, my gut, and I have faith. I meditate. I believe in the universe. I pray sometimes to the quote unquote. I respect all religions, but I pray to my version of what God is, and it just didn't feel right. And I just said, no, I can't. I would rather turn down the show than what you promised that's in writing. So those are probably the two, worst, not great experiences, but they don't happen that often. But that's really hard to have to stand up for yourself. And I actually lost my manager because of it.
Wow.
Because they wanted me to just do my work. And so sometimes you just have to have a team around you that believes in your decisions. And I think I'm so grateful that I have built that team,
Absolutely. I think that's really fantastic that you see it in that kind of way because, like, even though, as you mentioned before, you end up having lost your manager because of the decision you made to turn down the series, but you turned it down for a really good reason, saying, this goes against all my ideals, this goes against everything that I stand for, and I refuse to take part in that, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And I've seen across with a variety of actors, especially voice actors, they end up turning down the roles for those particular reasons as well, which usually they won't have an idea for what the character is during that series, but they'll get a description for what it's like, and they'll
Yes.
usually go like, nope, not doing it.
Yeah, it's true. In the voice world, I try not to turn down a lot of jobs because a lot of these casting directors, it's like they don't have the budget or they don't. I never want to turn down something because a casting director says, "Hey, like, can you help me out with this? Like, I'm trying to get this off the ground, right?" And as long as
Mm,
it's union work, I'm happy to do it. But if I look at something and the writing is just not good, and I can't bring something to it, and there isn't sort of an ounce of joy, I do have to pass,
mm,
So, and that happens far and few between, and most of the stuff is written pretty beautifully, So, for me, I try not to separate voiceover from on camera. For me, like, just being an actor, and it's just the role. Where it's shooting, like doing motion capture for Far Cry 4 in Toronto, you know what I mean? Doing a shoot there, for 3 weeks. And it's the same as when I did a movie in Calgary, on camera for 3 months, or you just don't know where you're gonna be and what you're gonna be doing. Being flown up to Seattle to do a voice job, or so you just never know. Like in the voice world and in the on camera world, it's almost about. I look at it as the same thing. It's about acting. It's about collaboration, and but I do have a special place in my heart for the voice world. It just seems like it just seems more concentrated sometimes. It's just sort of sometimes the egos seem smaller, where you're just we're just here to do our work. You know what I mean? And sometimes I think when you're on a giant hit on camera show, sometimes you have to, and gosh, I hope I'm not being too honest here, that sometimes you do have to navigate the giant stars,
mm.
and you have to sort of wait around in different ways with VO, or or it's not their fault. They're setting up lighting, they're doing this, and in the voice world, everyone's ready to go, and you just get in and out, like with the Lucas stuff, with the Star stuff has through the years has been, they're just on point, and it's written like a movie, so that's, I mean, I could just go on and on. You mentioned Iron Man, so that was, I'm so glad you did, because that's actually one of the projects I'm most proud of, to be a lead and to be a love interest for Iron Man at that time was so cool, and for them to have an interracial relationship, but it's not like she had an accent. It was just a beautiful thing, and I was hired because I had some success, but also because of my talent, and that's really cool, Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. Now, going across into like talking a bit more about your voice work. Now, my intro to your work was in fact from Zatch Bell, where you played the character of Lien alongside Wanray, who was played by Crispin Freeman.
Yes.
Have fans ever come up to you and say they remember you as that character? And what was it like working on that series?
It was really fun. It was early on in my career, and I know Crispin, and he's such a talent, and we worked on Young Justice together recently, and a couple of other shows, and we did a con together recently as well. So he's amazing. So yeah, we actually never recorded together, which was a bummer. But in terms of the writing and the fun of it, and just in terms of anime, um, it was just a blast. It was just different. Like you got to be kind of more. It's just a different world, and you get to use a different part of yourself, and it's almost like it's it's like going to different restaurants. Like one's French, one's Italian, and with I think with anime work, it's definitely got its own special like skill to it.
Mm.
So I just remember I remember having to run up like 1,000 stairs, and I remember the director was like keep running up the we just had to keep running up these stairs. I was like, and I just remember just cracking up because it was just this we did like 4 or 5 takes just running upstairs, or when she's kicking butt. I'm sorry, I can't say ass, but kicking butt, and she's going one way. Listen, and she's just her eyes are huge, and it's just a different world, and yeah, and that world, and same as playing grandma on Stitch. Like, who would have thought that I would play a grandma, right? But also it had an anime vibe to it. So, but she was more here. She was very much listen, Stitch. So I think it's still a blast to be able to do that, and the fans, the fans have come up and do remember, and I love that. It's. I wish. I mean, I'd be open to do more. I just. It just depends. On what the role is, but it's always a joy.
Fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. Now, a couple of other roles that came to mind for me now was, of course, you played in Ben 10 Omniverse as Nancy Chan and She Lane, but you also played in the Ninja Turtles series, the 2012 series, as the Shinigami. What was it like stepping into the world of Ben 10 and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Wow, yeah, with Ben 10, Subu, who is this amazing director, she's retired now, and I've done a few series with her. It was awesome. Like, we stepped in, and it was, your Lowenthal and Garrett Balza and like a bunch of my friends, and and we were just kind of like, all right, let's do this. And so I think I did a few episodes. I did an arc on that, and it was like we created it on the spot because we didn't know what this sort of cat girl with glasses was gonna be, and so we played around. It was like with voices, and then suddenly we came out with Nancy Chan, like just suddenly came up with with playing around with that on the spot, and that's what I call alchemy. Where A plus B equals C. It wasn't like you must sound like this, you must audition like this. Like they offered me the part. I was so honored to do that, and they trusted me. They trusted my instincts, and it was a great collaboration. It was so fun, and to see it come to life with the graphics, with the animation, with all the hard work with the team, you go, oh my gosh, this is so cute. And my niece and nephew were like, oh my gosh, Auntie Gwendoline, we can't believe you're doing this. And I was like, yeah, it's really amazing. So that was really cool. And with Nickelodeon, with Shinigami, that I did I came in like not in the beginning of the series, but they started writing her in I think a couple of years before it ended, like 2015, 2016. So and one of my idols and now friends, Kelly Hu, was on there, and and all of the Seth Green and all these other amazing other voice actors were on there, and it was just really cool to sort of reunite with them, Phil Lamar, and they were friends that I've been on and off shows with. So with Shinigami, that again was an offer as well because I did Dead Space 2 with Brandon Amon, who was one of the sort of creators along with Kevin Eastman, with the original TMNT, and it was crazy. They launched my character during Comic-Con 2016, like in front of like 5,000 people, and I was like, oh my gosh! And the reception was incredible. They played my introduction episode, and she's flirting with one of the turtles, and it got such a great reception. And one of the fans actually, he gave me like a skateboard that he painted, and it was just amazing that even before my character was launched, he already had, and we had already started doing the episodes in 2015, but he came up and already, the fact that he had done the research and took the time to do that was really amazing. So, we've kept in touch on Instagram as well. So, it was just such a joy. It was so fun, extremely well written, an incredible cast, top notch, Rob Paulson, everything else, and I am involved in the next actually TMNT that Rob's directing and the new creators. I can't say what, but so it's been really cool, to Greg Sipes, who was my love interest on before, like. So, it's been really cool. It come full circle, and just to be playing with the best of the best is amazing. But I love Shinny, and to have fan sites and people writing to me about her. I think they just connected with her because she was kind of like a bit of like a reject, but also like would throw down for her best friend. You know what I mean? That she, wanted to have Karai's back. And I think that just like, let it go. Like, it's just kind of, it's about a story about friendship, and it's also a story about, it really is really about camaraderie. And I think that was reflected both in the cast as well as written on the show. And I think that the producers use that as well, our energy.
That's fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful, and that's really fantastic. You're still involved with the Ninja Turtles franchise, getting involved to get ready in this new series, and that Rob Paulson is still like involved in the series as well, which is fantastic. So that's absolutely wonderful. Now, speaking about that, we mentioned about, of course, with Jar Jar Binks, you played across the Star Wars universe, particularly with Star Wars: The Clone Wars. What was it like stepping into the world of Star Wars, particularly returning for the final season of The Clone Wars?
I know. May the fourth be with you, right? They dropped the final four episodes. It was incredible. I mean, the fans have been so loyal. I actually played a variety of characters. Dave Filoni. It just started off with an audition, auditioning for Nala Se, who is second in command to Lama Su, played by Bob Bergen, and so she's the Kaminoans are these tall creatures. So, but they have really small lips. So they talk like this in a very odd way, So, I tried her with the British accent at first, but then we just sort of like made her just much more even keeled. So it started with that, and then I just got along with the cast so well, and obviously, with Dee and all the other amazing people, and Corey Burton, and like just crazy amazing people. And so Dave actually especially wrote Jedi Khalifa, who was the first like Asian dead Jedi in one episode, and he wrote me in as a bounty hunter, and there's a figurine for Kato Parasiti. So that was amazing to have an action figure on that, and finally I think I did like some DJ role. I don't remember, but what was kind of funny, and I know that I don't even know what the creatures are called, but the Jar Jar Binks species, what are they called? But like, let's go again.
I'm not entirely too sure what his species was described as. I'm not entirely too sure about that.
Not a huge, the fans don't love that species, but basically, because I talk with a Singapore accent like this, like it sounded kind of Hawaiian and Jar Jar Binksy, that Dave actually wrote a character that played Jar Jar Binks, sort of like he created a character for me with that accent, and it was so cool to be able, just before Crazy Rich Asians, before anyone even knew, really Singapore was on the map with VO stuff. So it was really cool to be able to to voice that, for him to be creating these characters for me. And he's a giant, he's a genius. So it was just really incredible to be able to do that. And I also want to give a shout out, by the way, to Matt Lanter and James Arnold Taylor and Catherine Tabor. They've been such good friends to me, and it's we've been friends ever since the series. So it's even now, just signing at conventions, and which I don't do that often, but people approach. It's just been nothing but a joy. Truly, 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 one of the best. I got, I flipped to the Lucas Ranch, not the public one, but the private one, and I got a private screening, and I brought my brother, and my brother's a scientist in England, so I don't think he really took my career, quote unquote, seriously. He's like, "What are you doing?" But I think once he saw the Jedi sword and saw Yoda as a fountain statue, he was like, "Oh, she's doing some legit work." It was almost like, for him, he was just really, really kind of starstruck by it all. And Dave Finoli sketched him a little thing on a napkin, and it was just amazing. It was amazing to be part of that process. And it's like George Lucas is approving my voice, you know what I mean? It's like I'm sitting here in Lucas's amazing compound. It was just incredible.
Absolutely
it
fantastic.
Continues to be incredible, and it continues to be incredible, let's put it that way. And when the final episodes dropped, just to be part of it was pretty profound.
That's absolutely fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. Now, as many fans will know, we've got, of course, a variety of different shows set up within the Star Wars universe, including, I think, Dave Filoni talking about several other animated projects coming down the line, especially and also with the live action series. Will we hope to see you return to the Star Wars universe?
All I would say is, stay tuned.
Fantastic. Perfect answer.
That's all I can say. I'm sorry.
No, that's fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. Now, speaking about, of course, with big universes, you also played across the Marvel and DC universe, from films like Invisible Iron Man to shows such as Young Justice as Lady Shiva. What was it like stepping into the comic book universe, and were you familiar with Marvel and DC before stepping into that world?
Yeah, I was. I mean, I wasn't a complete nerd out like some of these guys are, but obviously I knew Marvel. I mean, it's just, I really love. I mean, look, from Ben 10, it's and to anime, it's all different. It's all different skills, right? But there is something about the Marvel universe that's very slightly dark, very sometimes deadpan, very serious at times, but also heroic, very film like, like an on-camera film like. So stepping into it, I mean, obviously when you say Marvel, you go, holy crap, So and to be the lead in Invisible Iron Man, I was just, it was amazing. And I don't know whether, not for spoilers, but the ring scene in the last part, where I literally was weeping in that scene, because it's this amazing love story with her and Iron Man. And so I encourage you to still see it. I think you can buy it or stream it or something. But I put my heart and soul into it. It was, it's not easy to get a lead role in a feature, on camera, in voice or on camera in any event. So to be offered the part was incredibly humbling. So I really love that universe, and to play Domino, as well as Marco, actually, and also I think I played part of Master Mold, in Wolverine and the X-Men, and then sort of spun off to Lady Deathstrike in the X-Men universe. It was so fun. That was one of my favorite series. It was like Steve Bloom, it was Tara Strong, it was it was just everybody you could possibly think of was, we were all in it was almost like a radio play, and and in between we would just be snickering. It was almost like we were in homeroom, and we were in 7th grade, and they would have to kind of wrangle us to be like, you guys, because we were texting or just making fun of each other, or but then we were like blah blah blah, blah, and it's like, listen, like, everybody just was able to just boom, just pull it together and deliver. And I think we all just watched each other going, wow, everyone's really freaking talented here. So that was it was one of my favorite series, really, because of the cast and the way that the producers had to wrangle us. It was like Craig Kyle and Jamie Simone was directing, and Marvel and all of that. So it was really an incredible experience, and I learned so much from my fellow voice actors. But it really was, it was basically like it really was like homeroom in 7th grade, and we would just be like chattering away. But as soon as they called us, they're like, hey, and then we would just like deliver, and they're like, oh, okay. So moving on, and I think they loved us for it too. That we had that camaraderie. We really were a bunch of mutants. I'm a mutant at heart, really. So.
Fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. Now,
Yeah.
now as many fans will know, in the last couple of years, like, Marvel had just recently gotten the rights back to the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, but we also have the new Batman movie with Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson. Are there any particular, like, Marvel or DC characters you want to see brought to the live-action universe?
I'm not as well schooled, but I will answer your Lady Shiva question, which I missed, which was I knew of her, and I know there've been some before me, some legends that played. I know Lisa Liu played her. I think, and some other couple of big names, I think. And so when they offered it to me with Young Justice, I was like, oh my god! So it's written so beautifully. There's an incredible, gosh, can I talk about it? There is an incredible arc that's coming up, that I hope you stay tuned for. But what I will say, that in this universe, the writing is impeccable. I mean, these people really know what they're doing. I know that sounds so stupid, but they really, really do. So, there's so many projects that I wish I could talk about that I've signed NDAs about, but boy, I mean, I can't even say that. But I will say that perhaps, shows everywhere, produced in America and possibly Australia and other places, that England, possibly in other countries, that have stuff combined, some really cool shows. But Lady Shiva, I feel, is out of her mind, sexy and badass, and I don't know, I love playing villains, and even in the on-camera universe, I play a lot of badasses, and being, at the end of the day, I don't feel like villains are really villains. I feel like they're just heavily misunderstood, or if they have encountered a lot of, if they had a bad childhood, you can't help it if they want to cut out your daughter's vocal cords. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, like, these things could happen, but I'm just joking. I'm just saying that I just feel like when I play villains or they're written that way, there's a reason why. It's not just there's a lot of these characters. There's a deep reason why they have deviated, right? I mean, even if, so I mean, look even at Darth Vader, right? Like, burned and tortured into being one thing or the other. And I think it's always a feeling of being insecure, being not enough, wanting to belong, wanting to gain power and control because they never had it when they were younger, feeling like they were ostracized. So I really enjoy playing villains, and actually, we did a pilot for Kung Fu in Vancouver recently, and it got shut down because of COVID, and we just found out we got picked up, and I do play the villain that's out in the universe, and the quote unquote assassin villain, but that the gal is kind of pursuing. So, but I really have been thinking a lot about that as well, about what is this really about, and where is this coming from? So,
Mm.
and I think it really connects to people on a human level. Kids who feel ostracized, kids who feel like mutants that want to save the world, or kids who get angry and they don't and they feel like it's not okay being angry, but it's okay to be. You know what I mean? Just don't go kill anyone. And just escape through a video game, or escape through one of these beautifully written parts. But I hope that people are able to connect and feel understood and less alone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That actually does remind me of a quote that I think B.D. Wong once said when he was cast as Hugo Strange in Gotham, in that he doesn't view, like, he didn't view Hugo Strange as a villain in particular, and he goes with that saying of, like, none of the best villains think of themselves as villains. Everyone is kind of the hero of their own story in a way. So,
Yeah, oh my gosh, I love B.D. Wong. I mean, ever since, I think on Broadway, I think he played Madame Butterfly, and then he was on Law and Order and all this stuff. He's such a genius. Yeah, I agree.
he's absolutely fantastic. And my question to all the listeners out there is, let me know in the comments, you guys, do you want to see Lady Shiva officially appear in one of the Batman projects or any of the live-action DC projects in the future? And leave a like or a comment if you really want to see Gwendoline cast as live-action Lady Shiva.
Yes, start a campaign. Woohoo, do it.
That would be absolutely amazing. That would be absolutely fantastic. That would
Oh
be...
my god, what a great idea. Thanks, Simon, for putting it in my head. Yeah, please, fans, please. That would be so amazing. You know what's so amazing? I don't even remember what role it was, but literally the fans were like, hey, do you know that, I think it was Lady Deathstrike or Domino. It was Domino. It's like, hey, they were like, do you know that Deadpool, the game, is coming out, and there's Domino, a character in it? And I was like, really? And they were like, and my agents were like, really? And so I was like, I said to the fans, like, hey, just reach out if you don't mind reaching out. And then the next thing you know, I got the job.
Wow, that's insane. That's absolutely crazy and fantastic.
That's all fans. Like, that is all fans all the way. And it's not just like hundreds of, I mean, it's like literally, like, even if 2 or 3 people write like a email to whomever is supposed to be, like, sometimes like they tell me, they're like, hey, do you know your episode's airing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it is. Like, I had to be told that. I mean, I was in Love, Death, and Robots, that horror anthology series on Netflix. In episode 8 called Good Hunting, I played Xiao Zhang, like, in the beginning, and we won an Emmy for that, and I didn't know that we had won an Emmy. I was like,
wow.
What? So, yeah, I had to find out through, like, a fan, and I was like, what? So, you guys mean so much to me. I mean, you do not underestimate the power of what you have, and, like, it would mean the world to me. That would be so amazing. I love playing her so much. So just know that that happened. Like, that actually happened. Isn't that amazing? That's crazy.
That would be amazing if that would happen. That would be absolutely fantastic. Now, speaking about, of course, with video games, as mentioned about, of course, with Deadpool, you stepped into the video game world with projects particularly like, as mentioned about Far Cry 4 and also the Uncharted games. What was it like? What was it like playing across those series? And with the success of Detective Pikachu and recently Sonic the Hedgehog having broken the video game film curse, what is one video game project that you've worked on would you want to see adapted for the live action universe?
Oh, there's so many NDAs. I just let me see. I mean, look, Star Wars already pretty much did that, but let's take it one at a time. I know you mentioned 3 projects. So what was the first one you said?
You obviously spoke a little bit about Deadpool, but also the other game that's you're also best known for was from the Uncharted series.
Yes, Uncharted. Yes. So it's interesting. So with Uncharted, with Nolan, and I actually we did SOCOM 4 together. I was the first female lead and female Asian lead and in SOCOM 4, and we did a bunch of motion capture, and me and Nolan were standing there in our suits, our tight suits at Sony, feeling fat, and just like, and he's obviously like hilarious, and so Gordon Smith was directing, rest in peace. He was incredible. So So Nolan actually, I think I credit Nolan. I'm not sure. It was him and the producers were talking, and Gordon had worked with me on some other thing. I forget. I think it was like Scooby Doo, or I really don't remember. So I got to play this Indonesian agent with Nolan, and that was amazing. I worked with him through various projects. Oh, he was on the original Wolverine X-Men as well, and so we worked through a bunch of projects together. And he's hilarious. So that was really cool to be part of that franchise. And Emily, who played the lead girl, she's a good friend of mine till this day. So it's a joy to know them. Gosh, for Far Cry 4, thanks for asking about it. I mean, I don't remember whether I auditioned for it. I think I might have. I don't remember. Did I audition for it? I don't remember. But whatever the case was, it was so awesome to be flown out to Toronto. They treated us like gold. I mean, like, like, it's so funny because the dudes, it was Troy Baker and a few other people, and they were like, there was a TV in the mirrors, and I was like, what? Like, it was just like, we were put up in this amazing hotel, and they treated us like gold, and they got me a jacket because it was so cold in Toronto, and then when we got on set, it was like a bunch of dudes and me, and it was like people were careening down, and in motion capture we build blocks. It's like, this big block is a rock. This is now an alien turtle you're sitting on. You're now careening down into the darkness, but it's just a rope, and I'm just like, oh my god. So we're like building, it's kind of like you're in playtime, and you're like building all these things, and these dudes are doing all these things. I was like, well, if they're doing it, I'm doing this. So I'm just like, all right, careening down like all this stuff. So but I think for to play this character, she was so Yuna, she was like, so Yuma. I did play a Yuna in a different story, Yuma. And she, is it Yuna or Yuma? Fans help me. So she basically, had to climb on top of one of the other motion capture actors, and she had to scream at one point. She was in jail, and we kind of rehearsed it like, and to block it and shoot it, and we rehearsed it like a real play. It was almost like doing theater. Motion capture is like doing theater, and being aware of your angles in the 360, degrees is amazing. The crew in Toronto is amazing. They were just top notch, and it was such a joy. And then afterwards, we all had drinks. I had my first whiskey sour with egg white topping. Don't you love how I'm talking about the hotel and drinks instead of the actual job? But the job was incredible, and when I saw it live, and if you go to my website, GwendolineYeo.com, it's like, I actually have a piece of her climbing where I'm like there's pieces of her there, and also in the Far Cry series where me, I was climbing up rocks and stuff like that. Like, that's all me doing motion capture, my motion capture reel. So you'll get to see my see and hear my voiceover reel, and also see and hear my motion capture reel as well. And I do martial arts and things like that, and speak different languages, so it really, really helped, because I think she might have spoken Cantonese at one point with Troy, with his character. So it was fun, and I love Canada.
Fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. And I think in terms of live action projects, because I know
Yes.
for a fact that they've gone into, I know that they're developing a Last of Us TV series, of course, and I think they've been speaking about for a very long time of doing a live action Uncharted film, because I know they did a fan film that was approved by the people that helped to develop the Uncharted game series that starred Nathan Fillion, and I know they're also doing the film with Tom Holland as well. So it's totally possible we may end up seeing a full-blown live-action Uncharted film or TV series in the future, because that would be so fantastic.
That would be, yeah, the Uncharted series would be amazing. Fans, give a shout out to the Indonesian agent. I'm trying to check to make sure that I give a shout out to Gordon. It's Sir Gordon Smith, right? Gordon directed it. Oh my god, fans, help me here. I'm looking this up. Simon, help me out here.
I think so. I definitely believe so. I mean, as far as I know, the only thing I know about the Uncharted series, as far as I'm concerned, I know that obviously you starred in it. Nathan Fillion has been part of it, and they also developed a fan film based on the game series that had fans going absolutely crazy. And I know that the developers for the game had approved of, saying, "Oh my God, this is fantastic. We have to do a live action movie about this on this game series at some point."
Yeah, for sure. And I do apologize, but I just know it's Gordon. I don't know if my last name I got wrong, but I do apologize. But yeah, actually Nathan and I did an episode. I did an episode of Castle with him, and he's and obviously he's like sci-fi giant. So that'd be pretty cool to be part of that. I'm wondering what else. I mean, gosh, I mean in the Marvel universe, like you said, with Lady Shiva would be amazing. The I hope they continue to do more Star Wars stuff. I hope that they do. I mean, in the Marvel universe, I know they've already done that sort of version of it, but I'm
Mm.
wondering if they could do offshoots, and explore other characters from different points of view. Being Asian American, like I obviously would love, would love, to have to be able to portray someone, not necessarily, I mean, Asian, and
Mm.
have like a lot more diversity, I think, in some of these, sort of when it comes to screen, like Holly Berry, being part of it, and Kelly Hu being part of it. Like I thought that was amazing. I just would love to push for that even more. And it's interesting, right? Because it's like I love the fact that I don't necessarily get typecast as an Asian woman in the voice world, but a lot of the roles I do play are Asian, but some aren't, right? So in the on-camera universe, it's interesting because obviously it's my face. So in a way, I would have to play someone Asian. But whatever the case is, for me, behind the scenes or in front of the camera, as long as I'm championing the cause. When people think of people, quote unquote, of color, minorities, sometimes they think of African Americans and Latinos, but they forget that Asian Americans are also minorities and people of color. And so, I hope I'm not getting too deep here,
No,
being
no,
too
no.
preachy.
This is fantastic. This is absolutely wonderful.
Okay, I'm really glad, and I hope that that people think about that, that writers think about that, and we also need more writers and video game producers behind the scenes that are thinking about that. Not in both ways. It's interesting. One of my fans that's followed me for years. It's so sad. I think she was like in 8th grade when she started first following me, and she's like, it's because of you that I got into games, and now she's a video game producer, and it's like amazing, that I inspired her to do that from Final Fantasy back in the day, Final Fantasy X-2, where I play Pain. So it's like people remember that story. So I just hope for good storylines and storylines that people aren't afraid to put an Asian character front and center,
Mm.
and that I also get cast not only for Asian roles, but roles where it's about my vibe, my talent, my breath.
Mm.
So my breadth of talent and depth. And does it make sense?
No, absolutely. This is absolutely
Yeah,
fantastic. I can
yeah.
probably tell you straight up, if this was like a talk show or variety show at this point, and we had a studio audience right in front of us, they'd be giving a standing ovation for that as we speak.
That means so. Simon, you're making me cry. That means so much to me because sometimes I feel so like thank you for letting me speak from my heart. Sometimes you don't want to like just give all the right answers, and it just means so much to me to talk about my community, and especially during this virus that some of my friends have experienced some hate, where they feel like being Chinese, that you're a virus, and hate is a virus. So I haven't experienced it personally, but people on my cast have. Someone had said, like, shouldn't you be in quarantine? Or I don't want people to think that, to think less
Mm.
of a race, during this pandemic, to listen to the wrong things. It's like, and I don't feel that in the voiceover community. I feel so much support and so much love. And I'm so sorry I'm such a dork for crying, but thank you for saying that. That means so much to me, like, to have that acknowledgement, because you just don't know, like, when you speak from your heart and you're vulnerable, will people listen? Are you being too open? Are you sharing too much of yourself or what you're really thinking about? So I don't ever want to feel like an outlier, because I have felt like that a lot of times in my life. And that's why I think I play a lot of the roles that I have, well, in these situations, because a lot of these writers have also felt like outliers, right? So
Mm.
I think that I get them and they get me, which is the camaraderie. But I think the Asian aspect of it has really hit me hard during this pandemic, because um, it just hurts,
Mm.
And that aside, I just want to be proud of who I am and not apologize for the color of my skin or the fact that I can do voice. Like, do I sound like an Asian person to you? Yeah, no, right now. But if I can also sound like an Asian person. Like, that people start thinking about it, that people start writing about it. That it's not just that the fans are, your younger fans especially, that they're writing stories behind the camera that also, behind the scenes, that also involve these Asian characters, because I think it's super important.
Mm. Absolutely. I definitely agree on that 100% with that. That is absolutely fantastic. There, and it's meant, and of course, when you were mentioning about, of course, with bringing more diversity
Hello?
to, hello? Oh, it's interesting
Yeah,
about how,
sorry, you got cut out.
oh, that's okay. Yeah, so it's interesting about how you mentioned about, of course, with diversity, how, like, one project that comes to mind for me that I know that Marvel is working on is, of course, with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which is purely focusing on, like, looking to another, like, next to Black Panther, is looking at a entirely different, like, an entirely different culture,
Yeah.
which is absolutely
I
fantastic.
I think it's interesting, right? Like,
Mm,
I look, there are people, when there's talent from Asia, it's like I feel like that's talent from Asia, right? Like someone like a Michelle Yeoh,
mm,
who I'm acquainted with, and it's amazing, and she's Malaysian, so she's a superstar. And it's like, or they bring in Bruce Lee, and he's coming in from Hong Kong, or someone from Shanghai, or someone from mainland China, like Zhang Ziyi on Crouching Tiger. But what I feel really strongly about is the Asian American point of view. But I think that that's just being created now. It's not just, I know I'm an immigrant, but I also feel really strongly about this Asian American identity that we're only creating now. And only 8% of us, are Asian here. But look at Fresh Off the Boat, when my friend Randall Park was on it, or Daniel Day Kim, who was, I'm hearing beeps. We're okay. Daniel Day Kim, who was on Lost, and and Power 50, and so I feel like being Asian American, Lucy Liu, Kelly Hu, all the Droid Club cast, that we start creating this identity, and I hope
mm,
that they don't count us out. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Ali Wong, or just that people who are um, identify themselves in both ways, but also have their heart in America. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. That is fantastic. That absolutely does make sense. That is absolutely wonderful. And I definitely agree on that
Yeah.
in the fact that more, like as you were speaking about, of course, with bringing more Asian, people from Asia over into the entertainment industry, bringing more diversity into that. I think that is really important to have that, like, and not just the same with, like with all cultures for that matter, like bring in more people from Africa, bring in more people from Asia, bring in more people from Italy to the entertainment industry, is bringing more diversity to that. I think that's very, very important to have, and I think that's absolutely
Yes.
fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. Now, without going into spoilers, what's
Yeah.
next for uh, without going into any spoilers,
Yeah.
what's next for Gwendoline Yo for the fans to know about?
Um. Well, first of all, thank you for making me cry, Simon. But I'm just just teasing you. Um. You're awesome. Thank you. Thank you for saying that, if like live studio audience, and that people would be clapping, like that meant so much to me, by the way. What's next is yeah, I mean, we got picked up for Kung Fu, and I don't know, where that's going to be shot. Like, it might be Vancouver, it might be here. I mean, we have no idea. All I know is that it's pretty powerful to be, it's a primarily Asian cast. It's run by an Asian showrunner who wrote, it's a reboot of Kung Fu, so she didn't create it, but she wrote her specific family story. But so I'm really proud of that. That being said, it's also it's about a young girl who drops out of college. She goes to a monastery, and she I basically kill her mentor, and she's after me. Like, that's basically the storyline, and there's no spoilers there. So in terms of that, now we talk about it's an Asian American storyline. There are other elements there. There is one actually English guy in there as well. So it's not all about that. But I feel like the more specific the story, the more universal it hits people. So it's not, on the one hand, I'm super proud that it's Asian American. On the other hand, well, actually there is one Aussie on the cast.
Oh, wow.
John Persida, and then he's one of the younger ones on the set, but that's awesome. So we have an Aussie, an Asian Aussie. We've got Yen Everett, we've got a Singaporean, we've got a few Asian Americans, so there you go. But so I'm really excited for this. We just found out we got to pick up a few days ago. So who knows when we're going to get back to work, but hopefully very, very soon. So I'm really proud of that. I'm also working on, God, I wish I could, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say. I'm working on this really cool game that is like a global thing, but we've been doing sessions like out of my walk-in closet. So, my home studio, and actually James helped me set it up. Then, it was good enough. We wanted to make sure it was really, really ready to go. So I've done sessions for, I wish I could tell you, but for this particular game that hopefully the fans will really, really love. Maybe we can do a part 2 on it when it will be released really soon. I think in a month or so, but let me text the producers and see if I can even talk about it. We can maybe do a tag on or something. But a lot of the stuff that I'm doing is NDA. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I can talk about that isn't.
No, that's absolutely fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. And really looking forward to the next few projects you have coming out, which I know will be I'll put 2 links in the description once this interview is finally up, because that is absolutely fantastic. And final question, what do you think Lady Shiva would say if she was in Australia?
Oh my God, don't make me do an Aussie accent. Like, that's my worst one, and then all your fans they'll click off. So don't make me do it in Australian and with the Aussie accent, okay?
No.
I think she would say, there's a lot of land here, and it will be mined.
That's fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. That's absolutely fantastic. That is just wonderful. Gwendoline Yeo, thank you so much. It's been an absolute honor.
Oh gosh, same here. Thank you for having me, and thank you to your fans. Thanks for listening, and thanks for your hearts, and thanks for your support. It means the world to me.
That's absolutely no problem at all. And is there anything else you would like to say to the fans out there in Australia and in the world?
Wow. I would say be kind to yourself. Don't judge yourself too harshly during this time. Stay connected if you can. Feel free to reach out if you need me. I'll do my best. And I love you guys. And meditate, pray, stay hopeful, stay active. And thank you so much for loving what I do. That's how I've gotten this far. Your love has carried me this far. I couldn't have done it alone. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, guys, if you'd like to find out more about Gwendoline Yeo, you can check out the links too, which I'll put to in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to HannaTalk. Click on that bell to get notified for any videos I put up. And be sure to follow me on both Facebook and Twitter. Check out the links in the description. And don't forget to comment below as well. Thank you all so much for listening. This is Simon and Gwendoline Yeo signing off. Bye for now.
Bye.